chamber music. We're going to talk to you about how we achieve what we do and how we play. And we're going to answer your questions that you have. So think of questions as we're playing. And I'll have different times when I'll ask you, or one of us will ask you for questions. We're going to start without me talking, and we're going to actually play a piece for you here. And I'll tell you what it is when we're done playing, and we'll see if anyone can guess who wrote it last time we get done. But who knows, by a show of hands, what we need to do before we play a piece of music for you? Who knows? Yeah.
Tuning.
We need to tune, right. And every time we were doing a little tuning you may have heard when you came in. But before every concert, before we perform in the symphony, we tune. Who knows how you tune? How do we do it? What's our method of tuning? Anyone know? How do you tune in the band? With a tuner, we do that. But do you play the sound from the tuner? Because we do it a little differently. We use a tuner sometimes, and in fact, our first trumpet, Mr. Wood here, has already used a tuner to check his pitch. So what we use is a trumpet to tune to. So he plays us a note. Anyone guess what note he's going to play us? Concert B flat. Correct. And we're going to tune to concert B flat because that's what bands do usually. So now sometimes we tune to a different note. Anyone know what note that would be? It's the same note an orchestra tunes to. Anyone know what note an orchestra tunes to? They tune to a concert A because the string sections and the strings all use that A to tune their fourth string. Bands tune to B flat, we tune to A. So Bob will give us a B flat. Talk a little more about tuning when we finish this piece, and I'll tell you what the piece is when we're done. guess who wrote that piece? Does anyone think they know? I'm seeing if anyone can guess it right now. I didn't say it yet.
Mozart?
Mozart, you're close. It is a old-time composer like that, but he's even older than Mozart.
Is it Bach?
Bach, right. He gets a gold star for the day. And anyone know how to spell Bach? Not B-O-K. How do you spell Bach? B-A-C-H, right. And his initials were J-S. J-S Bach. And it's called Contrapunctus number 9, but in Roman numerals, I-X. Contra, C-O-N-T-R-A, just like contra. Punctus, P-U-N-C-T-U-S. Contrapunctus number 9. And he wrote a whole bunch of these pieces. And you may notice that all the time we were playing, generally 4 of us played at one time. And if the 5th person joined in, somebody was doubling. You may have seen, like when Alan and I had the part together, we looked at each other. Why do you do that in chamber music? What are we doing when we're looking at each other when we're playing?
So that you're able to tell when to start the music.
Right? Tell when to start the music and to see who you're playing with and to keep it together. We have to look at the beginning, but all the way through, there's a lot of contact between us. So that piece is basically a 4-part piece, which is why Tony, Mr. Niffen here, our tuba player, had to sit there so long at the beginning and wait to come in, and wait to come in, and wait to come in. Did you hear how sometimes in that music too, it was like there were conversations going on and music was being passed back and forth? Anyone notice that? We're going to play you one more section from this piece. We're going to play just a little section, and I want you to listen. Let's play from, where was it? We're going to play from 73, you guys don't even know this, from 73 just till the next bar number to 89. Okay? And I want you to listen, and then we're going to break it down and show you how we work on it and stuff. So here's, I have 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 after Tony came in. Okay. Got it? This works right on instructions. We'll try it. Hopefully we're in the right place. Okay, so right on? Yeah, right on 73. Conversation, right? Try something. We're going to play the last right before 89. Do you have that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars before 89. Just Blake and I. And listen to the conversations that are going on. You hear that? I answered it. Hear that conversation in there? Play the same spot with the 2 trumpets. Yep, start from there. Back. Now, did anyone hear that conversation? We're going to play this section again, and I want you to really listen to what's going on in the music, because this is the kind of stuff we dig out when we rehearse and practice this. The other thing you're going to hear all the way through, and we're going to play a little more for you, is what's called the ground. Who knows what the ground is? What is the ground in what you think of it? If I were going to say, put your feet on the ground, what does it mean? Right? What is the ground? Where is it? The bottom, right? It's the base. It's the bottom of the room. And all this music is based on the ground. You heard it over and over and over again. You guys could probably all sing it. You don't know it. But it's a simple, long melody, often in the bass, but not always. Tony, you want to play one of the ground?
You play it with me, actually.
Sure. And this, it happens all throughout. So here we go. So you noticed all the way through that piece, you hear that underneath it. It keeps repeating, keeps repeating. Let's put this section together now so you can hear the conversations between the trumpets, the conversation between Mr. Slavak and myself, and then the ground as it comes in and goes throughout the whole thing. We're going to play, let's play 73 again. So you'll hear the ground first, then the conversation. Somebody said, how do you tune? You use a tuner. That's how you tune at the beginning of a concert or the beginning of the rehearsal. But that's only the very 1% of tuning that you'll do when you're playing your instrument. Because as a chamber group, we're tuning every note we play. And we become so accustomed to it, just like how many of you have thought about the fact that since you've been in this room, your heart's been beating? How many of you thought about the fact that you've been breathing? Right? Nobody. You don't think about your breathing. Usually, right? It's just a natural thing that happens. And what you got to do is the more you practice your instrument, intonation and tuning becomes a natural thing that happens. And you get better and better at it. And what do you use other than a tuner to tune? Who knows? What else? Your head, yes. You think about it. What else?
Your ears.
Your ears. Your ears, both of them are the single most important thing you guys can do as young musicians is listen. And it has to do with everything we're going to talk about today, whether it's tone production or intonation or playing together as a chamber ensemble. It's all listening. Listening affects everything. So I know you guys have a whole bunch of topics and questions you're going to have to answer. And I'm going to tell you, if you put listening for a lot of those things, it's going to be good for you. Because the more you listen, the better you'll be, because you identify what sounds good, what works, and what doesn't work, and what doesn't sound good, right? So we've also occasionally done a little intonation or tuning demonstration just to show you. And I'll use Bob and Alan, and they're just going to pick two notes. They don't know what notes they're going to play. We don't do this a whole lot, so they don't remember it. And we're going to see how they listen and play in tune without even knowing what notes it's going to be. Go ahead. Pick a different note. Yep. Now that's a really close minor second, wasn't it? But did you see how it sounded like one cool sound? I'll try a different one. You guys just pick some notes and play. Good. Pick a different one. See how that's a weird chord? Good. Did you see how Tony got softer there? He balanced, didn't he? Who knows what balance is? Somebody tell me what balance is in a chamber group. Yeah. Okay. Anyone know? Balance. What does that mean when we say balance? Right. It's getting the proper balance. Usually, what they were working on is an even balance. And Tony was a little louder than Blake, because Blake played softer. So he played softer. Yeah.
a lot of times in the orchestra, a conductor will stop us and say something's, I would think he would say something's out of tune, but the first thing he might address is balance. If it's really, really out of balance, it will not sound in tune, even if it is. If somebody's too loud, it's just not going to be sounding in tune. And then when they change the balance, just like that, the pitch just locks in.
Right. So,
One more practice idea.
absolutely.
Here's another idea. If you're a trumpet player, you might have to amplify this a little bit, but there are lots of apps that have tuners that will play a sound. And that's all the louder it will get, but if you have some speakers, a way to amplify it, you could, like, this is in the key of B-flat concert, you could practice your scales to that, and you can hear when the notes you play sound good with this note. But brass players, this will definitely have to be louder than this. So if you have a pair of like portable speakers, you could put it on that and turn it up to I do that.
One thing along the lines of what Bob and Rick has said. Rick said you can use a tuner, somebody said that over here, and you can use your ears. Something I think most players your age will use, and students that I've had, is their instrument. They play a note and they think, well, I've hit an F, and so that's an F. But somewhere between not being able to sing in tune at all and entirely using your ears as your instrument. It can tell you approximately what notes you're playing, but it's not really going to help you play very well in tune. It just tells you whether or not you've got the note, and sometimes even that's not right. So when they say use your ears, you're saying that in contrast to just playing through a piece and thinking, well, I got that note, so it's probably in tune. So if you sit down with the drone, all of a sudden you can get away from relying on the horn to tell you that you're basically right, and all of a sudden you're using a completely different system. And your ears, they don't turn off. As soon as you're playing a note with the drone, it's like breathing. That's out of tune. And you'll bring it to a point where you'll hear less, it's called beats. It just doesn't sound very good.
Very good. All right, we're going to move ahead and play another piece for you. We'll play it. And we're going to talk about a lot more concepts of how we play chamber music together and how we perform. I also wanted to tell you, if all of you remember, and I think I told you last year, we do a concert, and a lot of the music we're playing today is drawn from that. We're going to play next, not this upcoming Monday, but the week after, Monday, December 16th. We'll get information to Mr. Murray and Mr. Weirich, so they have it. But this group will do a Christmas concert at St. Francis Church just down the road. So come, it's free. Bring your parents, bring your brothers and sisters, even if you don't like them, bring them anyway. And it's a fun Christmas concert. Occasionally Santa Claus shows up. But we're going to play this next piece, and this is like a lot of Christmas carols. You're going to be really lucky because a lot of Christmas carols are so old that nobody knows who wrote them. So when you get composer, nobody knows. And this is called, what a lot of people will put is traditional Irish or traditional English. And this is a traditional Irish carol. So that means they know it came from Ireland, but they don't know who actually wrote it. Why don't they know who wrote it? Because most of the music back from when Christmas carols emanated were handed down just by being sung every year. Everyone knew it and just kept singing it. Nobody really wrote it down probably for the first several hundred years. They just sang it. And this is called Wexford Carol. W-E-X-F-O-R-D. Wexford Carol. And I want you to, as we're playing this, you're going to hear some different sounds in here. I want you to really, unlike when you listen to music, you know, like on your iPod and you just kind of zone out, or in the elevator or on TV, I want you to really look at the quintet. See if you can figure out some things. Like, how do we start? Is somebody in charge? Look for those communications across the group. How do we communicate? We don't have a Mr. Weirich or Mr. Murray up there telling us when to play and helping us in. So how are we doing it in chamber music? And I know you guys probably have some good ideas because I know you're studying it and you're playing some chamber music and doing that. But figure out how we're doing it. So really focus on the group, and we'll ask you a bunch of questions and answer some after we play Wexford Carol. Mr. Wood started it, huh? Does he start most of the things? That we played? We've only played a few. Okay. So far, sometimes Mr. Wood starts when he's playing. Sometimes Alan starts too. How do you think we decide who starts? And why do you think the trumpet often starts in this group?
Part comes in first, normally with.
Say it a little louder.
Part comes in first, normally the one who starts it, and then normally it's the trumpet because normally there's a considered the lead part.
So he says normally it's the trumpet because he's on the lead part. The trumpet plays the highest or the lowest part in this group. Highest, right? So they tend to be the one who leads if they play the melody or if they play at the beginning. What's another reason they start? Anyone know?
There's a guy behind you.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I have a question.
You have a question? Okay. There is no composer. It's traditional Irish carol. We don't know who wrote it. Irish composer. That's all we know. But put up your trumpet for a second, Bob. Take a look at what Bob looks like, like you're going to play. In front of you. And you'll see something. It kind of points right out there. Now, pretend like you're going to start the piece for us. Watch what he does. See how he moved? Andy, did you hear him breathe? Right? I heard a little. So he can start us just by doing that. Go ahead and do that once more. Everyone listen closely. Just him first. Good. Now, let's watch us all start and watch how we're all tuned into that, even though we're not necessarily looking at it. Okay, good. Now, pick a totally different tempo, Bob. We're going to do it at a different tempo. I don't know if he's going to go slower or faster, but we're going to try it. Good. Now at a different tempo again. See how we all focused? We didn't even have to be looking at him, but we're tuned in with our ears listening and our eyes. If you can see him, I can't see him. Very good. Anyone? Now you noticed he had that melody, right? We talked about balance, how we work on balance. Now we've worked this stuff out. See if you can hear the problem with this balance. Top. Coaching us, what's wrong with that? We all played the right notes. It was in tune. What's wrong? Somebody over here. Yes.
You're being too loud.
Who's being too loud?
You.
I am not. Yes, I am. Who else is being too loud? Trombone. Who else?
The tuba.
Tuba. Why are they being too loud? Why is their balance off? Because they're covering the melody. The most important part is making sure that melody sings through. Right? Now, we could just say, well, he needs to play louder. But then, wait, look. My part says mezzo forte accompaniment. That's telling me I'm not that important. So let's play it now the way you heard it the first time. You'll hear how big of a difference it is.
Sorry to interrupt. Guys, you're inside. Wait till the end of the concert to do that. Yeah, thanks. The sixth graders had to leave for a class. So.
Okay, that's okay. Good. So you saw how we started this piece, and you see how we work on the balance and really work on that. Anyone know why we sit in this order, how we set up? Any ideas of why? What do you think?
Because you want the highest instrument in front.
Right. You notice we're kind of aligned from high pitch down to the lowest pitch at the back. Right? And why would we do that? It's a lot the same way an orchestra or a band sits, with the flutes and clarinets up front and oboes up front. And move all the way back to where you get the tubas and the low instruments at the back. And we even have a percussion section a little later that's going to be at the back too. We'll get to it. Good. So that's why we set up. Why aren't we in a straight line so we can all see you? Anyone know why we're not in a line? So we can see each other. Because we have to communicate by looking at each other and by listening to each other. And sometimes you hear things a lot better when you can see them, right? Good? Absolutely.
Just one quick thing, a way to think about balance. If you decide to give a number to all of the dynamics, from pianissimo to fortissimo, you'd have 6. And you can tell yourself, well, I'm going to play 6 loud, or I'm going to play only 5 loud, or I'm going to play 1. Okay? And if you look at dynamics that way, and I think most people actually do look that way, it's very easy to forget that other people are playing at the same time as you. And you'll see fortissimo, and you'll just go ahead and play quite loud. But if you look at dynamics instead, as the composer's suggestion to you, that this is roughly the way the group should sound, or maybe this is roughly the way the melody should sound, and they've just given fortissimo to everybody, then that gives you a very different result. So when I think about dynamics, I do put numbers to them just to give myself a check to make sure that I'm not playing too loudly or softly. And instead, I tell myself, I'm going to try to make sure that whatever I'm playing is underneath the melody, or it's in balance with the people that I'm playing, and I try to make sure at the same time, if I have a melody and I'm playing, let's say I have a beautiful melody and it just says forte, am I going to play the whole thing at 5? I'm not phrasing if I play the whole thing at exactly the same dynamic. And so instead, I give myself a range of about 10 or more, depending on the style, so that if I'm doing something, it's not completely flat and monotone when I have the melody. I change the dynamics a lot. So I don't look at dynamics in a very, what do we call that, monotone or binary, or just one value for every dynamic.
Yeah, very good. So just because your part says fortissimo doesn't mean your part should be the loudest in the band. It means the whole band should be fortissimo. And we work on that a lot. And it often comes, sometimes hopefully they put the melody in the trumpet, but sometimes we'll have a fortissimo section where they put the melody in the horn, and I'll have to say, guys, can you play a little less? Because I'm at my top fortissimo, and this needs to be heard for this two bars. So you have to know, that's kind of what Tony's working at, is this gradation of it's the group dynamic. Am I an accompanimental fortissimo, or is this the solo fortissimo?
I think it's a starting.
Yeah. So that you're really, and how do you tell that? What do you use to be able to tell balance? Your ears, right? And listening to your conductor tell you if you're too loud or too soft. So whenever I hear somebody, they say, it's too loud, and I say, well, it says fortissimo. Well, so does the melody in the flute, which you can't hear. So good, we're gonna do a little other kind of experiment for you here, and we're gonna play another piece. Let's do Old Magnum. And we're gonna play a piece that we're gonna play on this Monday's concert, not this Monday, Monday, December 16th at St. Francis Church. And it's one of our new pieces that we have never played before. This group plays together a whole lot. So a lot of the music we play for you, we've played a lot together. And we don't have to rehearse a whole lot because we know the music. But this is a piece that's fairly new. We got it last year. I think we've read it once, but we're preparing it. And we thought it'd be neat for you guys to see how a professional group rehearses, how we do things, how we make decisions, and how a chamber music group starts, talks, works all this stuff out. So I'm going to tell you the name of the piece, and this will take a minute because I know you guys need to know the names and the composers, because it's a piece of sort of Renaissance music, isn't it? It's Spanish? Yeah, it must be Spanish. And the name is O Magnum, like the gun, M-A-G-N-U-M, Mysterium, M-Y-S-T-E-R-I-U-M. So it's O Magnum Mysterium. And I wish I could tell you what that means. It's O Mysterious something. I don't know what Magnum means, but I'm just making something up. I could make something up, but you guys can research it. Tell me the answer someday. And it's
like a work.
a work.
It's a product, like
product.
a finished product.
So mysterious finished product, right? And it's written by a man with 3 names. His English name would be Thomas, but it's Tomas, T-O-M-A-S, Louis, L-U-I-S, D-I, Victoria, D-I-C-T-O-R-I-A. Tomas Louis D. Victoria. Good luck with that one. Get close. Okay. And we're going to you'll hear us start and stop and talk. And I want you just to kind of observe how we rehearse. We'll probably do this for about 5 minutes or so. So maybe 5 to 10 minutes and get through it. And then we'll have some questions from you guys. starts this?
It starts in the trumpet.
Seems like this is gonna take us forever to get to the end of it. Seems too pedantic, too heavy. What do you guys think?
It's marked in the parts, common time or 4/4. But
And, and andante.
andante, so we think probably it will be better if we take it in a moderate to a little slower, in 2 beats for the bar, cut time or all of breath.
So if you wanna try it slow two, or?
Slow 2.
Let's try that. says somewhat faster in 3/4. So how much faster do we want to do? It seems like we kind of rocked for 2 or 3 bars. We weren't quite together there. So, and that's because we all didn't know quite what to expect.
Anybody have a second quarter note or on beat? What do we have in the downbeat of the 3/4?
I only play on 3. Does anyone play on beat 2?
Half note.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would suggest is, it's really in time from the 3rd beat of that bar of the 3/4 going forward.
Right.
Because there is a,
But
everybody needs
does the
breath.
somewhat faster refer to the quarter note beat tempo getting faster? Well, I wonder if you did it. I wonder if you did it where the half note equaled the dotted half. 1 and 2 and 1 2 dot A dot A dot A dot A.
Yeah.
Can we try that once?
Let's do that.
So can we just explain what Bob said a little more thoroughly?
Sure.
You guys understand, we're going from this, 3, 4, to all of a sudden we're going to do 3. 1, 2, 3. And when we got there, we didn't stay together because the tempo when we get to the 3 is suddenly faster. And we didn't really know how to do that faster. And what Bob suggested wasn't actually a tempo solution at all, but it was brilliant. He said, let's let the phrase that ends the 4/4 end on the first 2 beats of the 3/4. So we're not even going to feel the 3/4 until the 3/4 melody comes in at the end of the 3/4 bar. And then we'll all actually breathe together, and then we'll do whatever tempo we just talked about. So instead of just plowing through and having we're going to change time and just keep going, we're going to phrase, and then we're going to feel it probably much more together.
Yeah, so let's try that. And let's try starting maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. Does that work? 5 before the 3/4? 5 before the 3/4, Bob. Okay, good. Where do you hit your last note? Yeah, okay, so we get to it right. We have to all be confirmed. What did I just do? I looked at the tuba part to make sure. So I have to know not only my part, but I have to know all the other 4 parts, where they're moving to know where my part fits in. You may notice something else. When we worked out that tempo change, was anyone in charge? In chamber music, is anyone in charge? Was anyone bossy? We had some ideas handed around, and we talked about them. And if somebody really didn't like it, we would have said that. Said, well, let's try it a different way. Bob had an idea. Tony said, wow, that's a great idea. I said, yeah, let's try that. Did you think it worked? I thought it was way better than the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, way better.
That was
So,
an awesome idea.
so if you come to our concert on the 16th, you'll hear it that way.
I've written down something to say at some point, just about rehearsing in general. This is something I've failed at over the years and finally figured out. If you don't play in a particular section and you're doing chamber music, or even if it's in band and you're resting, that's a time to start thinking about how to encourage people. It's not a time to say, well, they're screwing that up. I can't wait to tell them. You know, it's real easy when you're not playing to really feel like you know how to fix something. And so then when people stop and they're playing, they may start to work it out with whoever they're playing with and say, you know, it's not going well right here. What do you want to do about it? And all of a sudden, somebody who's not playing there will pipe right in and say, you guys really need to do this there. Okay, so that's one thing. And that actually comes right back to the using your ears and stuff too with the balance. It's just a general principle. Try to support other people by staying out of their way and encouraging what they're doing. And if you have the melody, that's when you lead. But you don't have the melody, be a follower. Be a good follower, not a leader in the way. So.
And I just want to say, when you play in an ensemble, the most important thing is that there's a consensus, an agreement on how to play. You may have the best idea in the band, but if you're the only one doing it that way, it's going to wreck it. It won't sound good. You must play together, and that's where the band director says, I want it to sound like this, and then you do it, because it will sound much better.
And that's a really, really good point. In chamber music, we have to come to a consensus and agree. And you kind of do that in the band with your section. If you're working with your French horn section on something, you guys can get together and work out a way that you think it should go. But ultimately, if the band director wants it a different way, guess who's the boss? Not you, the band director. They're the boss. We worked for a lot of years with a conductor known by the name of Raymond Lepard. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him. And I have a lot of respect for Maestro Lepard, even though I really did not like the way he did things. But he had a way of doing things, and he was consistent, and he made the orchestra all do it that way. And it worked, and it sounded good. I didn't like that way, but my job was not to like that way. My job was to be part of the orchestra and make it sound good. And I tried to do my best at that, and he and I are great friends from that, even though I told him, I disagree with your musicality. I disagree with that. And he respects that because he knows I still do what was asked by the music director. We're going to move ahead and do one more rehearsal piece for you so you can kind of see us rehearse. Now that other piece we did play through once in the last couple weeks. This piece I just brought the music to today. So these guys haven't played a note of it. In fact, we're borrowing finger cymbals from the mighty Zionsville Band to be our percussion section played by Tony Niffen because this piece only calls for 4 players. It's a 4-part.
Lost the finger
It's called Il est bel et bon. And if you want to write it in English, it is something and good. Anyway, it's very easy to write. I-L, first word. E-S-T, second word. That means it is. Bel, B-E-L, which I can't remember the meaning of.
Beautiful.
Beautiful and good. That's what it is. So you can write it is beautiful and good if you want to. Or bel is B-E-L, and then E-T means et, and then bon, B-O-N. Il est bel et bon. Now, it is beautiful and good doesn't work as well, even though that's the English title, because the melody is, Bob, can you just play the first 4 bars? Listen to the melody. In 1. Right. Il est bel et bon. That's the words to it. Il est bel et bon. And I don't know the rest of the words. So every time you hear that melody come in, you'll know it's il est bel et bon. It is beautiful and good. You couldn't get that many words in English, so we have to say it in French. It's written by a Frenchman named Passerelle. P-A-S-S-E-R-E-A-U. Passerelle. P-A-S-S-E-R-E-A-U. Now, we have never played this piece, so we're going to talk a little about how we're going to do it first. You'll see how we read a piece for the first time, because I played this with some other quintets, and we may have played it about 15 years ago. You guys are only born. Okay, so, gentlemen, this piece, I propose we start it. We're going to use finger cymbals. We're going to have Tony play, and let's all make sure we mark in 4 bars of finger cymbals at the beginning. So Tony says the tempo.
Yes, I'm doing the afternoons.
So Tony will just play.
Too fast?
Maybe a little faster. Right, and it's generally a round. So you'll hear the melody, and then the next bar somebody else will start the melody. So you'll keep hearing that. Now, I think this piece is pretty straightforward with a little retard at the end, and that's it. The last 2 bars. And you can maybe do a roll in the last note or something. Okay? And Tony has a copy. He doesn't have actual music. He has a copy of one of the brass parts. So let's see how Il est bel et bon sounds. Okay. First time through it.
depends on the acoustic, because it's a round, and so if in here we could probably play it much faster, but maybe in a real reverberant room it might be.
I have a few suggestions maybe that we could try, a few spots. First of all, one of the things that I'm going to suggest is that anyone know whose part's most important?
All of them?
All of them. Who said all of them? Good, you get a gold star. Because it's a round, we're all playing the melody, we're all passing it around, but we have to make sure that we give space. We need what Raymond used to call, our music director, aerate the sound, using aerate the sound, which means maybe all the long notes we can come away from a little. So that there's, because whenever you hit a long note, somebody else is doing their portion of the melody. We just have to see, because you want to hear all four parts even. Nobody should drown out the other. And I think we did that most of the time, but I think we could do more group dynamics. And we talked about dynamics. That first time we hit the fortes around in the 40s in the piece, we really need to probably keep it piano, or sorry, in the 20s is the first time. It's really, in this period of music, a lot of times it's piano or it's forte. It's loud or it's soft. And if you look through this piece, it's pretty much all loud or soft. So we need to keep the soft, and the loud's maybe a bit more loud without sustained volume. Maybe a bit more crisp in articulation. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
What kind of dynamic do you call that in this style of piece?
I don't know.
That's a piano minus.
Yeah.
And
There's
that's a
a
forte plus.
concept called terracing your dynamics, where it's basically like a piece of lasagna, where you have different layers on top of each other, and they change quickly. They don't have a lot of shaping to the phrasing. What we're doing is we're playing a phrase loud, and then we're going to play a soft phrase maybe after that 8 measures later. And so that is something that they experimented with a lot before we got into the Romantic period, where they started adding all these wild dynamic changes. So it was a little simple.
Yeah, and the other thing, in terrace dynamics, everyone knows what a terrace is, right? Steps, sort of. So it's a step dynamic or terrace dynamic. Just because my part goes to forte, my part changes to forte where the melody goes, but the melody starts at different bars. So my forte might be, well, he's playing piano for 2 more bars, and then he goes to forte. So the terraces all happen different, right? And we should really stick to the terraces that are in each part. So maybe let's do the beginning. Let's start it again and play it again and see if we can do that. Tony, you wanna- The one other thing I think maybe we could bring out more, does anyone else have the, and here's a big word for you, the hemiola markings around 65? I see Bob has them.
Yes.
Okay. If we have them, what a hemiola is to make you feel like you're in a different time. This piece is all in 2. We're thinking of it in 1. Bop, 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 beep, beep, bop is what the finger symbols are giving us. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And at 65, all of a sudden, I have a bracket going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, bop, bop, bop. So it makes you feel like you're in 3 when you really bop, boom. So maybe we can bring that out. Let's try playing, maybe it's just Bob and I with the accents. Alan has it too. Okay, let's start, I don't know, 50-something, Bob, where are you? 57. Let's start right on 57. Did you hear that at the very end? Let's play right on 65 once. 1, 2, 65. Sorry. Oh, you do it? Okay, so it's different in each part. Let's play Bob and I right on 65. It's just the two of us. One, ready? See how you get those accents in the weird place. Let's play. Alan, why don't you play what you have? Where you have it? So he is ba, ba. You hear that all. Let's now do it all the way from 60. 60, everybody. Two, ready? Okay, once more. Two, ready? Maybe that pianissimo could be even softer, as soft as we can. We have one pianissimo in this whole piece, and that's right where it is. So it's really a special thing for 2 or 3 bars, right? You want to try, I don't know, 80? Yeah. 80. Let's go right on 80. And see if you can hear where this pianissimo is. 2, ready? Good. And what do you think on the end?
I think I need practice.
Okay.
You know what would sound good? Let us hit the downbeat.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
And just hold them.
oh, okay.
So don't play the downbeat of the last bar.
Let's do it. That's a different technique.
Let's try from one. Yeah. Let's try from 114.
Give them vibrato.
Actually, let's try from 99, which is where Bob comes back, and it says a forte brillante. So this needs to be the loudest of the statements. 99, and then to the end. Yeah, I like that one. So,
The problem's hard.
all right, thank you guys. Now, who has any questions with what you saw us doing in rehearsing? All right. Any comments, any ideas about how we did it? Who has any questions for the group in general? We probably have one more piece to play, but you guys got to have some questions. Come on.
Is there anything on your assignment you weren't able to answer? How often do you meet to practice together?
Say that again.
How often do you meet to practice together?
How often do we meet to practice together? Most groups would meet fairly often, but we all work together every day. So we're playing in the symphony probably 20 hours a week together. When we do a concert, because we play together a lot, if it depends on the type of concert. These Christmas concerts, we'll meet maybe 2 or 3 hours to rehearse the program, but that's because we've all played all the music together. So we're not, when we meet to rehearse, who knows what we do when we rehearse? Do we learn the music? No. We learn the music at home before we get to our rehearsal. So when we get to here, we've already learned the music, we're just working on how to put it together. So it takes us a very little amount of time. We might practice this Christmas music for a couple of hours, or if we do a full recital with all new music, let's say we were going to do an hour recital with a whole bunch of new music at a college. My guess is we probably need 10 to 15 hours of rehearsal beforehand for that 1 hour concert. Over the course of a 2 or 3 week period, we would rehearse it that much. If it were all new music for us. So, any other questions? Anything else you don't have answers for in your sheet? Anything you've always wanted to ask a professional brass player? Somebody over here? Yes?
When did you guys meet?
Where did we meet each other? When? Well, a long time. We Tony and I, who played in an orchestra in Honolulu, Hawaii together. Whatever he said. That's
Don't go
the
any
same.
further.
If you want to look up how to spell that, research it online. State Fish of Hawaii. You can put that in your report. No need to do that. But we met, most musicians meet either through college, where they go to study music, or through orchestras. And musicians tend to work their way up through orchestras. So we've all played in orchestras all over the country, some of us out of this country. I played in South Africa for a year. Tony played in Honolulu when I did. Blake, I think, is rare because he's played in Indianapolis. He played in Greencastle. Tony went to school at DePaul University and got a job right here in the Indianapolis Symphony. Blake did, and Blake is also our orchestra personnel manager. So he also works on the management side and manages all the musicians in the orchestra and makes sure we're there and we wear the right clothing and all those types of things, and that we get paid too. So that's why we like him. But we all do also all other kinds of music, because we play brass quintets, we play symphony music, we play music of all different types of genres. We're going to play one more. We're going to do that or Christmas songs? This one? Okay. We're going to do one more piece to set you off on a happy holiday season here. And we're going to play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm not going to tell you how to spell any of that. I can tell you, wait. I can tell you a little history of this song. This was originally written by a department store called, I think it was Macy's, was it? Yeah. Anyone heard of department store Macy's? Way back early on, they wrote the music to this as part of an advertising campaign, right? In order to sell more Christmas stuff. So even though the story of Rudolph might be pretty old, they used this story and used it as an ad campaign. And the song has been sung by some of like the really famous people from your grandparents' generation, people like Gene Autry and a lot of those. That's kind of like, I don't know, Britney Spears or whoever's hot today of that generation. So it's an old song back from the 1940s. Although this is in a little different style. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the style of a jazz waltz.
And guys, if the bell rings before the song's done, then just stay here and we'll wait till the song's done and we'll send it past so you're excused.
It'll be done.
Thank you.